Welcome back to On the Move with Victor Shi. It is Wednesday, March 8th, 2023. Last night, we saw part two of Tucker Carlson rewriting what happened on January 6th and reducing what happened on that day to a mere tourist visit, which is revolting. And remember, if it weren't for Kevin McCarthy, who gave Tucker Carlson those tapes, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. But Kevin McCarthy was so desperate for political power and to become speaker. I suspect this was probably part of the deal he made to be speaker. Today, we're going to start off by unpacking what we've seen from Tucker Carlson and Fox News over the past couple of days. Then we're going to talk about Nimrata or Nikki Haley and why her candidacy for presidency hasn't only failed at this point, but is also doing minorities in our country a huge disservice. And to help me do that, I am joined by Wajahat Ali, who is a frequent guest on the Mary Trump Show, other cable outlets, and is the author of Go Back to Where You Came From and other helpful recommendations on how to become American. Wajahat, it's so wonderful to finally meet you. Thanks so much for being with me this morning.
Victor, I am mostly here for your hair. I was impressed by you and your personality, but now that I've seen your hair, I want to befriend your awesome hair. The volume, the length, the lift, it gives me hope for the future.
Thank
Also,
you.
your political activism and your energy, but mostly the hair.
Thank you.
So, on behalf of all Asian men, I applaud you and let us protect you, your voice, and your hair.
Thank you. I was walking to campus the other day, and a friend texted me, "Look behind me," and I said, "Oh, I saw him look behind me." And I said, "How did you spot me?" And he said, "Your hair." So apparently, you can spot me from all sides, even from the back. So
It's like if Johnny Bravo ever needed a reboot, they need to cast Victor. That is an
oh,
old school reference. You can Google it, Victor, but I just gave you a compliment.
will do. Thank you. Thank you. Well, let's start off by talking about Fox because there's so much
Mm,
to unpack. First,
let's do it.
there are new exchanges between Rupert Murdoch, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, and Sean Hannity. Rupert Murdoch thought the election was not stolen in 2020. We found out Tucker Carlson said he hated Trump with a passion, and
Mm.
many other things that basically once again confirm that the network lied to their audience despite knowing better. I want to start off by asking you what your takeaways are from yesterday's New Dominion filing and what we know so far about Fox's role vis-a-vis the 2020
So
election.
first and foremost, I really appreciate that you didn't call it Fox News. So you used the word network, and I'm trying to mainstream this
Mhm.
reality that everyone who's watching, hello everyone, you do not need to call Fox News Fox News. If I wore a Batman cowl and said that I'm a superhero, you would all laugh at me. Just because I cosplay as a superhero, I might entertain some kids, but no one would take me seriously. And I think this is a very important point because what Fox is not a news network. What Fox is, it's a hate merchant and it's a propaganda network for right-wing politics.
Mm.
Tucker, in particular, doesn't relate the news. He shapes the news and reality for right-wing viewers. Even
Yeah.
Fox lawyers, in a case in which a Trump-appointed judge sided with Tucker and Fox, it was a slander case, said, Tucker, you shouldn't. No sane, rational person should take Tucker Carlson seriously. It's entertainment, but this type of entertainment is also dangerous, Victor. And so what we've been seeing for the past week, thanks to Dominion voting system on this ongoing defamation lawsuit with potential punitive damages,
Yeah.
is that its own hosts have openly said that it's BS. This whole rigged voting scandal, it's all nonsense. And the people they put on, such as Sidney Powell, the Kraken, and others, they themselves have used the word crazy train. And like you said
Yeah.
yesterday, late night, it dropped that Tucker Carlson hates Donald Trump, is tired of him, wants to move on. And Rupert Murdoch, the worst immigrant of who's come to America, one of the most dangerous people of the 21st century, knew was BS and let it go on, right?
Mm.
And at the same time, when it comes to Tucker and the big news of Monday, where he alone got access to 40,000 plus hours of January 6th footage, no one else got it, but Kevin McCarthy, the
Yeah.
spineless amoeba of a man, gave it to Tucker, which is why I like it the fact that you mention him and show that he's complicit. He took 5 minutes of it to rewrite history and say, see, it was a peaceful protest. What do you
Yeah.
mean? It's the mainstream media and the deep state that's against us. And people also forget that Tucker on the Fox wide network ran a 3-part series last year in which he said that January 6th was a false flag operation. So Timothy Snyder, who's an expert on fascism, said that post truth is pre fascism. And
Mm.
what we're witnessing, Victor, is post truth, a
Yeah.
rewriting of reality for a gullible right wing audience, which is about a third of America. And the final thing I'll say is you have to use the correct words. This is fascism.
Yeah.
They are lying. It is not a news network. And the only way Fox and the entire right-wing media ecosystem is able to be influential, Victor, is because the mainstream treats us as mainstream, right?
Right.
The
Right.
second you choke it off, all they'll have is their third of the population that lives on Earth 3, but they won't be able to contaminate the rest of us. So my question for everyone watching, when will the majority say enough is enough? And
Yeah.
why do we have to tolerate them and allow them to cosplay as a news network and as a legitimate media company when they're not? That's the question I have.
There's so much to unpack there, and I agree with everything that you said. I want to ask you first about this Dominion lawsuit because it's $1.6 billion, and you said that there's also punitive damages that
That's
could
right.
be involved here. I want to let's say Dominion wins this case and gets the $1.6 billion as well as the punitive damages. Do you think that changes Fox's coverage at all and starts to be more tethered to reality and facts?
It'll hurt. It'll hurt, Victor.
Yeah,
I mean, $1.6 billion ain't a small chunk of change, and what America worships is money, and
yeah,
the right wing
yeah.
worships money. Uh,
It's
I
the
know
green,
it will influence better behavior because you saw One America News Network and Newsmax. Remember that when Dominion threatened them
right?
on air? Some of those hosts are like, "Oh, wait a second." So it will be first and foremost some level of accountability, which we've never seen of the right wing.
Yeah,
It will be a punishment, and also the fact that Dominion won. Now Dominion, if Dominion wins, it gives a roadmap to everybody else. Oh, we
mm-hmm.
won, right? And so it's a flip, it's a reversal, it's judo. Because look what Michael Knowles did. Michael Knowles is one of the many angry, aggrieved white men
Yeah,
of the Daily Wire at CPAC over the weekend. He said, from a written speech, he called for the eradication of transgenderism.
yeah, yeah.
So everyone said, "Oh, he's calling for the eradication of transgenders." He goes, "I'm gonna sue you for libel, defamation. I didn't say transgender." So we're now, because they do it very deliberately, the
Yeah,
fine line. So Dominion said, "Okay, I'll play your game. I'll punch back." Once they punch back, now that they've already hurt Fox's credibility. If Fox loses, I guarantee you it'll make them think twice, especially
mm,
the on-air hosts, because they don't want to lose money. But will it deter the right wing from its fascist path? Will it correct the ship? No, but it will
yeah,
hurt them. And it could, at the very least, deter them from going all in on this type of dangerous BS. And I want to say this, it's not just dangerous BS. This voting rights conspiracy theory radicalized thousands of people to engage in a violent insurrection, and that
yeah,
in part
yeah,
radicalized David DePop to go to Nancy Pelosi's house to try to finish the job. And what did she do?
yeah.
She beat up his husband instead.
Mhm. So, do you so on that note where I mean, we're talking about basically this network that isn't tethered at all to reality, but that I do think that there are still some responsible journalists at Fox Network, I guess, but no matter what they do, they're clouded by Rupert Murdoch and Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity. I'm wondering if you were a journalist at Fox, would you be considering leaving at this point, and do you think more journalists should be leaving the network?
You can be a journalist at Fox, and you're right. There are people behind the scenes who are there just for a paycheck. There are people behind the scenes. I talk to them, makeup artists and others who literally just roll their eyes, look at what's
Yeah, yeah,
happening, and like they tell me stories of the people who are there. They just don't believe it, but they're there for the paycheck. Get paid well, and the media, as you know, is a very disrupted industry where there's no
mhm,
jobs. But what they do is they allow themselves with a Neil Cavuto or
mm,
the guy Shep Smith, right? Or
yeah,
Chris
like a
Wallace, who used to
Brett
be there.
Baier, yeah.
Yeah. What happens is it allows you the veneer again of cosplaying as a real news network. What do you mean?
Mm,
We have Chris
mhm.
Wallace, we have
Yeah,
Shep,
yeah,
we have Neil. No one watches them. They're in the middle of the day. But we do hard hitting interviews. We have good analytics. But again, the primary engine of Fox is to do right wing propaganda. It's Pravda for the right wing. In the Discovery, Victor, what people aren't really talking about is that Rupert Murdoch gave Jared Kushner, while Trump was in office, access to Biden's debate ads.
right.
Remember that?
Yeah, yeah,
And he gave him debate strategy. So what you're
yeah,
dealing with is essentially it's like RT, but for the right wing. So if you care about your journalistic ethics and integrity, if I was working there, I'd peace out. But
yeah.
that's just me. I've been poor before. Uh, stuff has happened in life, and believing in God and fate and Kismet, whatever you believe in, I would say, you know what? I'll find my sustenance somewhere. I
Yeah.
can find my wealth somewhere. But if I'm eating this type of money by performing in part as a soldier for Fox, am I not complicit?
Right. There's so much that I want to get to into Fox, but because the show is formatted in a quick way, I do want to shift to Nikki Haley because you wrote such an amazing piece on MSNBC about Nikki Haley's presidency. We could do an entire episode on her, but I want to ask you about her your claim, which is that her model minority claims aren't just unsurprising, but they're also dangerous. Can you explain that for our audience a little bit more?
Nikki Haley is the Candace Owens of Herschel Walker's, of Dinesh D'Souza's,
Oh
of Bobby
gosh.
Jindal. What she does is uses her very powerful, beautiful American story, and instead of using that story as an immigrant of a daughter of Indian Americans who was able to come here thanks to the 1965 Immigration Nationality Act, which was due to the original BLM protesters of the 60s, the Civil Rights Act, right? Her father came here in America, where he was able to become a citizen because he taught at a historically black college, right,
Yeah.
in South Carolina. Instead of using that story to uplift people of color, to uplift immigrants, to expand the tent, what does she do? She allows herself to be used voluntarily as a cultural validator of right wing politics. She hits
Right.
immigrants,
Right.
she hits black women, she hits BLM protesters. She
Yeah.
says nothing against Ann Coulter, who literally told her, go back to your country after she announced her presidential campaign. And she said nothing to Donald Trump, who said, according to a book, she has the wrong complexion. She has a complexion problem to be my vice president.
Mm.
She says nothing about the white nationalists. Instead, who does she attack, Victor? People like us.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
called her a cultural validator. What else do I call her? I said that she's the Candace Owens of Dinesh D'Souza of Candace
Yeah.
Owens. I
Yeah.
called her the Manchurian candidate, and the right wing got so angry. But notice she was unable to fight back and hit me. The
Right.
reason is because we brought all the receipts, and if you expose her and you expose her record where she supported the Confederate flag, she
Yeah.
supported secession, she says nothing against Trump. She knows that she'll be completely exposed for her hypocrisy, and what the media doesn't do is call her up on it. They don't bring
Yeah.
the receipts.
Yeah.
Instead, they say, Wajahat, how dare you say that? Tut tut. And I fought back.
Yeah. Honestly, as you should. And there's something that I've been thinking a lot about after reading your piece, and I went back on YouTube and I just did a quick lookup of. There was a clip by Joy Reid about what she said about Herschel Walker, and she said that he basically represented the perfect black candidate for Republicans in the sense that he's black, he's straight, he's religious, and he does nothing to interrupt the Republican drive to this white nationalist agenda, and that he complies with the Republican Party. I don't want to compare Herschel and Nikki, but I am curious if you think Nikki represents the ideal female person of color candidate for Republicans to support.
The first part, she's just like Herschel Walker. When given every opportunity to separate herself from Trump, even when she ran, she said, I'm the new face, a new voice, a new
Yeah,
leader for
yeah,
the Republican Party. What do you disagree with Trump? Oh, nothing. I agree with him.
nothing. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same thing with Tim Scott. So do you disagree with Trump? Oh, I agree with him on policy. So if you agree with Trump on policy, if you were so disgusted by Trump that in 2016 that you wouldn't initially vote for him, Nikki Haley, because you said he wouldn't renounce the KKK, then why did you voluntarily agree to be his UN ambassador, right? There's
right,
no
right.
difference, Victor.
Yeah,
Even from their own words, there's no difference. They say that they agree with him when it comes to his policy. His policies were
yeah,
hateful. So what's the difference? The only difference is superficial. I am a brown woman and will lean into my brownness when it's convenient, and I will use it as a cudgel, as the moral minority, to beat up black folks and poor folks and immigrants.
mm,
And I will be your cultural validator, oh, right wing America. But the problem is this: right wing America says you ain't right wing enough. And
yeah,
also, Nikki, you have a complexion problem. And Ann Coulter told her just 2 weeks ago to go back to her country, even though Nikki Haley is born and raised in America. Nobody in mainstream media brought that up. But then they did tut, tut, tut to me for bringing the receipts.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
for one, fight back.
Right. And you wrote, I think, perfectly in your column near the end. You said, particularly disappointing, especially for many in the South Asian community, is that all of the Republicans with stature and clout, she arguably had the best opportunity to truly confront the GOP's full throated embrace of white supremacy. She just seems to have chosen not to. So I want to end on one last question, which is, can you imagine a world in which Nikki Haley wins the nomination and becomes president?
If Nikki Haley becomes president, I am Batman. Look, can she? She could, but
Yeah.
no. No,
Yeah.
and even if she does, she's not there. She like, MAGA, choose your fighter, like Street Fighter. She ain't their fighter, man. They
Yeah.
mocked her even
Yeah.
at CPAC. She's at
Right.
7%. Even when it comes to being the token model minority, she ain't it.
Yeah.
Because the fact that she took down the Confederate flag from the state house after the terrorist killed those folks in South Carolina, that was it. That was it. They don't trust her. Just like Mike Pence, no matter what he does, they won't trust him. So no matter what Nikki does, she won't become president. She knows she won't become president, but this will help her elevate her platform, give her some money, maybe get her a consulting job,
Yeah.
maybe get her in the next administration, and maybe ingratiate her enough with MAGA that she can milk it for the rest of her career. But she ain't ever becoming president. And if
Yeah.
she's president, then give me a cape.
Hopefully that day never comes. But hey, we can all dream. And according to Nikki Haley, this country's perfect and nothing is wrong with it. So I
And
guess
there's no
we'll
racism. We just
and there's
make
no
it up.
racism. Exactly. Exactly. It's amazing. But we'll see what happens in 2024. Wajahat, I'm grateful for your voice and everything you do. Thank you so much for being on with me this morning.
Congrats on the show. Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I've always been a big fan of Wajahat, and as you can see why today, he's just amazing. He's able to contextualize things so well and talk about things. He's just a refreshing voice on cable news, on different shows. When you really don't see many Asians on the air, Wajahat really does our community such a service and is such an important voice. So hopefully you enjoyed that episode with Wajahat. There are a couple of things I want to get to before I let you all go. The first thing is right before we came on air today. Kevin McCarthy nominated and appointed Marjorie Taylor Greene as the Speaker. You heard that right. Speaker pro tempore of the House. Marjorie Taylor Greene is now the Speaker pro tempore of the House. And this is, I think, one of those deals that Kevin McCarthy had to make to become Speaker of the House. We all know that Kevin McCarthy is Speaker in name only. Marjorie Taylor Greene basically controls and owns Kevin McCarthy. This is yet another move that gives Marjorie Taylor Greene more power, more legitimacy, more attention in the Republican Party at a time when she doesn't need any of those. She doesn't deserve any of those. And so for Republicans, my question now is, and I hope journalists will ask them, what is their reaction to Marjorie Taylor Greene now being elected to Speaker pro tempore? Do they endorse it? Do they support Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because she's the face of the party. She controls Kevin McCarthy. And this is literally what the Republican Party stands for now. Someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene who wants to secede from the union, who spreads conspiracy theories, who doesn't believe in January 6th. This is the face of the Republican Party. This is who controls it. And now that she's been elevated to this position, there's no argument against the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene is now the basically the face and the poster child of the Republican Party. So to me it's concerning, and I hope all of us will keep on pressing Kevin McCarthy about why he makes these moves. What is behind this? Someone like Kevin McCarthy 4 years ago wouldn't have been able to even sit on committees, but now she's given positions like these, and it's just truly embarrassing for this country. And when I first heard it, I mean, I was revolted, and I think it should make everyone just so much more outraged and motivated to turn out in 2024 and kick these people out of office. The next thing that I have for you is there's some lighter news, which I thought was particularly just to me brought me a lot of joy last night. I read that the USPS had unveiled a new stamp called the Forever Stamp, and the person who's on the face of that stamp is Toni Morrison, obviously one of the best writers to ever live. She has written just amazing books, Beloved, Sula, Song of Solomon, so many other important works for our time right now. There's just no writer like Toni Morrison, and if you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's a beautiful rendition of Toni Morrison. It's a yellow backdrop with Toni Morrison looking to the side. It's just really a masterpiece and took my breath away. And I think at this time when literature, when books, when novels, when Black literature, when Black authors are under assault for basically shining a light on our country's racist history and our country's systems of oppression. We need more people like Toni Morrison. We need to remember her legacy. We need to remember her voice. And no matter what Ron DeSantis and Republicans do, I think the one thing about literature and English and storytelling and authors is that they are not only kind of the best way that we can communicate with each other, but it's also one of the best ways to document and preserve history. And so no matter how hard they try to ban her books, her legacy, her life will endure. And so for the USPS to put her on this forever stamp, she will endure, and her legacy in life and literature and work and kind of all that she stood for will endure forever. So check out that if you haven't yet. It really kind of gave me hope in this really dark moment when we have so much people like Ron DeSantis, Tucker Carlson trying to destroy democracy, knowing that we still have preservations of people like Toni Morrison, her novels and her literature is I think really important and powerful. So check out that if you haven't already. And we will be back tomorrow for an Ask Me Anything series at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, right here on youtube.com/Politicon. If you have any questions, be sure to drop it in the chat, and I will be sure to get it to you tomorrow. And then on Friday, we'll be joined by Barbara Lee, who will talk about the U.S. Senate race and why she believes that she's the best candidate to win in 2024 here in California. You don't want to miss that. So join us then again at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, right here on youtube.com/Politicon. I want to thank you all so much for watching this episode with Wajahat Ali, and be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And feel free to share this episode with anyone who is young in your life, anyone who is around your life who wants to learn more about Gen Z and maybe just the news of the day. So share this episode, like, subscribe, and thank you so much for being with me today. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of On the Move. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.